A child clutching a tarnished pendant and a dog on the brink of death unexpectedly find each other in the woods. Their breaths intertwine in the cold darkness, a primitive struggle for life. As the cold passes, the truth behind the pendant is gradually revealed. The wind howled like a wounded beast as Liam stumbled barefoot through the snow, his thin pajamas clinging to his shivering frame. Barely 2 years old, his small body was no match for the biting cold of the remote North American mountain town. His skin had turned a sickly purple, his lips a faint blue, and his shallow breaths came out in weak, pitiful whimpers that the storm swallowed whole. He tripped, collapsing into a snowbank beside the road, his tiny hand clutching something. A tarnished silver locket, its chain tangled around his frostbitten fingers. The snow began to bury him layer by layer as his eyes fluttered shut. From the shadowed edge of the pine forest, Snoopy emerged. A gaunt German shepherd with matted fur streaked with mud and dried blood. His ribs pressed against his skin, a testament to weeks of scavenging in the wild after being abandoned. His amber eyes, sharp with wariness, scanned the darkness. He'd survived on instinct alone, haunted by a past he couldn't name. The echo of a man's voice, the sting of smoke, a life left behind. Then he heard it, a faint, broken sound cutting through the wind. Liam's whimper. Snoopy froze, ears twitching. He took a cautious step forward, then another, his nose twitching at the scent of the boy. The child was still, too still, half buried in white. Snoopy hesitated, his breath clouding in the frigid air. Then, with a low whine, he padded over and nosed Liam's cheek. The boy didn't stir. Snoopy circled once, then lay down beside him, pressing his bony frame against the toddler's side. His warmth seeped into Liam's icy skin, a fragile shield against the storm. The locket glinted faintly in the moonlight, pressed between them. He curled tighter, his tail draping over Liam's legs, his head resting near the boy's neck. His breath puffed warm against Liam's ear, steady and stubborn, as if willing the child to keep going. The wind screamed on, but in that small pocket of snow, two lost souls clung to each other. Hours passed, or maybe minutes, time blurred in the blizzard's grip. Liam's fingers twitched, brushing the locket. Inside, unseen, was a faded photo, a young woman with kind eyes, holding a baby. A name was scratched on the back. Ellie. Snoopy's ears drooped, and he exhaled a puff of white breath, settling back into the snow, his dark brown eyes glinting with resolve. He shifted slightly, pressing his body closer to the trembling boy beside him, offering what little warmth he had left to shield him. His nose nudged Liam's tiny hand, testing, then he gave it a gentle lick, as if to ensure the faint breathing still lingered. His gaze locked onto Liam, the boy's small head nearly swallowed by the snow. Snoopy let out a low whimper, a deep, quiet sound, then used his snout to push more snow away from the boy, as if determined to keep him from being buried. The sun barely crested the horizon when Ben Foster's snowmobile growled to a stop. A grizzled local with a salt and pepper beard, Ben was out checking his property's fences after the storm. His breath caught as he spotted an odd mound near the road. A patch of snow, too smooth, too still. He dismounted, boots crunching, and brushed away the powder. A tiny hand poked out, pale and motionless. "Jesus," he muttered, digging faster. Then he saw the dog, Snoopy, curled protectively around the boy, eyes half open, exhausted but alive. Ben's hands shook as he fumbled for his radio. "This is Ben Foster. I got a kid and a dog out here, half frozen. Send help now." In just 20 minutes, the rescue team arrived. Paramedics swarmed the scene, wrapping Liam in a thermal blanket. His pulse was faint, but there. Snoopy staggered to his feet, swaying from hunger and cold. A medic knelt beside him, murmuring, "You're a tough bastard, huh?" They loaded both into the ambulance, tires kicking up snow as it sped toward the hospital. In the ER, nurses marveled at Liam's survival. "That dog's body heat kept him from freezing solid," one said, shaking her head. Snoopy collapsed in a corner, too weak to stand, but his eyes never left the boy. By noon, the story broke. The local news ran a grainy photo Ben had snapped with his phone, Snoopy shielding Liam in the snow, the locket glinting faintly at the boy's chest. "Miracle in the mountains," the headline blared. It spread like wildfire, first to regional stations, then national outlets. Social media exploded with Snoopy Saves and Snow Angel, the latter a nickname for Liam coined by a teary-eyed anchor. A viral post read, "This four-legged hero deserves a medal." Donations poured in for the hospital, along with dog treats and toys for Snoopy. The image of that snowy embrace became a symbol of hope in a cold world. Claire Morgan watched it all unfold from the nurse's lounge, her coffee growing cold. A solitary woman in her 30s, she'd been a nurse here for years, her life a quiet routine since losing everything. Her husband Jack, a cop, died in a shootout 5 years back, taking their unborn child with him when grief shattered her pregnancy. She'd built walls around her heart since then, but something about Snoopy's tired, loyal gaze on the TV tugged at her. "I'll take him," she said to the head nurse, surprising herself. "Just till he's back on his feet." The nurse nodded, and Claire felt a flicker of something, purpose, maybe, stirring in her chest. At the station, Sheriff Danvers scratched his head over Liam's case. No missing child reports matched the boy's description. The locket offered a clue, Ellie etched on the back, but no one knew an Ellie in town. "Kid didn't walk out there alone," Danvers grumbled to his deputy. "Someone's got to know something." Meanwhile, Claire brought Snoopy home to her cabin in the pines. He limped inside, sniffing the air, then paused by an old photo of Jack on the mantel. His ears perked up, and Claire frowned. "What is it, boy?" she asked softly, a strange familiarity settling over her. Claire's cabin stood tucked among the pines, a quiet sanctuary she'd once built with Jack. The walls held ghosts, of his voice calling her to dinner, of his coat slung over a chair. 5 years ago, he died in a hail of bullets chasing a fugitive, leaving her 5 months pregnant and shattered. The grief took their unborn daughter too, and Claire had sealed her heart ever since. The cabin felt like a tomb. Until Snoopy arrived, he shuffled in, his paws tapping the floor, and flopped by the fireplace with a grunt. Claire watched him, twisting a dish towel in her hands. "Guess it's you and me now, huh?" she murmured, a faint smile tugging at her lips. Weeks passed, and Snoopy's frame filled out. His ribs faded under a sleek coat, thanks to steady meals and a warm bed, yet his eyes held a shadow, a guarded depth Claire recognized in herself. She'd catch him staring out the window, ears perked, like he was waiting for something, or someone. Then the hospital called. It was late one afternoon, the phone jarring her from a daze as she chopped vegetables. "Claire, it's Dr. Hensley," the voice crackled. "We've got a situation with the boy from the storm, Liam. Sheriff still got no leads on his family and social services is swamped. We're looking for someone to take him for a bit, supervised visits while we sort it out." Claire's knife paused mid-cut. "Me?" she said, her voice tight. I don't do kids, Doc, you know that." Hensley sighed. "I do, but you've got Snoopy and that boy lights up around him. We've seen it when you've stopped by. He's stable, but he needs more than a hospital cot. Just temporary, Claire. A week, maybe 2. She gripped the counter, memories of her lost baby flashing, ultrasound photos, a crib never used. "I need to think about it," she managed, hanging up before he could push. That night, she sat by the fire, Snoopy's head in her lap. "What do you think, boy?" she asked, scratching his ears. "Am I crazy to even consider this?" He huffed, nudging her hand, and she laughed softly. The next day, she visited Liam at the hospital, telling herself it was just to check on him. He was sitting up, clutching that locket, his face breaking into a grin when he saw Snoopy. "Doggy!" he squealed, toddling over to hug the shepherd's neck. Snoopy's tail thumped, and Claire's chest ached with something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. "Okay," she told Hensley later. "I'll do it for him." Soon, Liam's visits became a rhythm. Mornings, he'd sprawl on the rug with Snoopy, giggling at cartoons, his head resting on the dog's flank. Afternoons, they'd bask by the window, sunlight warming them as Liam traced patterns in Snoopy's fur. Claire found herself smiling, genuinely smiling, watching them. "You're good for each other," she said one day, ruffling Liam's hair. He beamed, clutching his locket, and Snoopy leaned into her touch like he agreed. It felt like a family, tentative but growing. Then came the revelation. Claire was rifling through Jack's old keepsakes, a badge, a photo, when a police pin slipped free and hit the floor. Snoopy's head jerked up. He let out a soft, keening howl, eyes fixed on the pin, then limped over and lay beside it, paws cradling it like a treasure. Claire's breath caught. "Snoopy?" she whispered, kneeling. His gaze met hers, piercing and clear, and a memory slammed into her. Jack had bragged about his canine partner, a German shepherd he'd raised. "Lost him in the blast that night," he'd said once, voice rough. 5 years ago, the night he died. Claire stared at Snoopy, pulse racing. "You're him, aren't you? Jack's dog?" Snoopy whined, nosing the pin, and her mind spun. How had he survived? Why now? She thought of Liam, the locket, their arrival, like fate weaving a thread she couldn't grasp. That night, Claire sat with Liam asleep against her, Snoopy at her feet, the pin in her hand. Tears fell as she traced its edges. "Jack," she whispered, "did you send them to me?" The cabin was still, but their presence, Liam's warmth, Snoopy's steady breath, felt like a reply. Pain and peace intertwined, a gift from a lost love, carried by a dog who'd found her again. The cabin was cloaked in midnight stillness, the only sound the faint crackle of embers in the fireplace. Claire jolted awake on the couch, her neck stiff from dozing off mid-book. Something felt off. A thud, sharp and out of place, echoing from upstairs. Before she could shake the fog of sleep, Snoopy bolted past her, a blur of fur and muscle. His paws pounded the wooden steps, and a low growl rumbled from his throat as he shoved open Liam's door with his snout. Claire's heart lurched. "Snoopy!" she called, scrambling after him, her slippers skidding on the floor. She flicked on the light and froze. Liam lay crumpled on the rug beside his bed, his small body jerking in violent spasms. His eyes rolled back, foam flecking his lips. A febrile seizure, Claire's nurse brain screamed. "Oh God, no!" she gasped, dropping to her knees. His skin burned under her touch, fever spiking dangerously high. Snoopy was already there, barking sharp and urgent, his body pressed against Liam's to steady him. His eyes locked on Claire's, fierce and commanding, like a soldier barking orders. "I've got him," she stammered, fumbling for her phone with trembling hands. "Hang on, baby." 911, what's your emergency? The operator's voice crackled. It's Liam, Claire choked out. "He's seizing, fever's out of control. 142 Pine Hollow Road, hurry!" She tossed the phone aside, grabbing a damp cloth from the bathroom to cool his forehead. Snoopy stayed put, his weight anchoring Liam, his bark subsiding to a steady whine. "You're doing good, boy," Claire said, her voice shaking. "Just keep him still." Minutes stretched like hours until red and blue lights flashed through the window, tires crunching gravel outside. Paramedics burst in, a whirlwind of efficiency. "Febrile seizure," one confirmed, checking Liam's vitals. "Temps 104. Damn close to brain damage territory. They lifted him onto a stretcher, oxygen mask in place, and Claire clutched his hand, her pulse racing. "The dog caught it early," she said, nodding at Snoopy, who stood rigid by the door, ears back. "He knew before I did," the medic glanced over, impressed. "Lucky you had him." They whisked Liam out, Snoopy trailing close, refusing to leave his side until Claire coaxed him into her truck to follow. At the hospital, doctors stabilized Liam with fluids and meds, his seizures easing as the fever broke. "He'll be okay," Dr. Hensley told Claire, scribbling on a chart. "That dog's a damn miracle." Another few minutes, and we'd be talking permanent damage. Claire sank into a chair, exhaustion crashing over her. Snoopy flopped beside Liam's bed, his muzzle resting on the boy's leg, eyes never wavering. "You're unreal, you know that," she whispered, stroking his head. Word spread fast. By morning, a local reporter was outside, camera rolling as nurses recounted the night. "Snoopy saves Toddler again," the headline hit online, paired with grainy security footage of Snoopy's frantic dash up the stairs. The clip went viral. Snoopy hero trending nationwide. Donations flooded in, and a talk show called Claire for an interview. She hesitated but agreed, sitting under bright lights days later. "I think he's my husband's old K9 partner," she admitted on air, voice steady. "Jack died 5 years ago, and somehow Snoopy found us, saved us." The host's eyes widened, and the story took on new life, speculation swirling about the dog's past. Back at the hospital, Claire sat by Liam's bed, his small hand in hers as he slept. Snoopy lay curled at her feet, a silent sentinel. She thought of Jack, his laugh, his courage, and the pieces he'd left her. A boy to love, a dog to protect them. "We're keeping you both," she said softly, resolve hardening in her chest. "No matter what it takes." Outside, the world buzzed with their story, but in that room it was just them, three broken souls forging something whole. Summer sun bathed the courthouse steps as Claire adjusted Liam's tie, his small hand gripping hers. It was adoption day, months after the hospital scare, and the air buzzed with promise. Inside, the judge's gavel fell with a soft thud. "Liam Morgan, officially yours," she said, smiling. Claire's throat tightened as Liam hugged her neck, whispering, "Mama." Snoopy sat at her feet, tail wagging like a metronome, his collar gleaming with a new tag. "You too, buddy," Claire murmured, scratching his ears. "Family's official now." Outside, she lifted Liam onto her shoulders, the locket still a mystery. Catching the light, she'd stopped chasing its secrets. He was hers, and that was enough. Claire channeled their story into something bigger. With donations still trickling in from Snoopy's fame, she'd bought a patch of land near the cabin and broke ground on Snoopy's Haven, a sanctuary for stray dogs and kids in need. Volunteers flocked to help, hammering kennels and painting a playroom. "It's for Jack," she told a local paper, standing amid the chaos of construction. "And for them." She nodded at Liam, chasing a puppy across the grass, and Snoopy, supervising, with a proud tilt of his head. The Haven opened that fall, a beacon of second chances, its sign etched with a silhouette of a shepherd and a boy. Snoopy's legend grew when the town threw a ceremony, awarding him an Animal Bravery Medal. Kids lined up with crayon drawings of their hero, and Claire took the mic, voice steady. "He was my husband's partner first," she said, pinning Jack's old badge beside Snoopy's medal on a display. "Now he's ours." The crowd cheered, Liam clapping loudest, and Snoopy basked in it, his graying muzzle lifted high. Claire caught his eye and smiled. Partners in healing, all of them. Years later, the Haven thrived, a patchwork of barking dogs and laughing kids. Snoopy, slower now, his fur streaked with silver, lay on the porch beside Claire. Liam, taller and wiry at 8, tossed a ball to a scruffy rescue pup nearby. Claire sipped iced tea, her fingers brushing Snoopy's head. "You did good, old man," she said softly. "Brought us home." His eyes, cloudy but calm, followed Liam, a quiet contentment settling over him. The sun dipped low, painting the sky gold, and Claire felt Jack in the warmth, a presence, not a ghost. "Jack sent you, didn't he?" Jack sent you," she whispered, half to Snoopy, half to the breeze. "To fix what broke." Snoopy sighed, leaning into her touch, and she let the tears come. Grateful ones this time. Liam ran over, plopping beside them, and the new pup curled up too. "Love you, Snoopy," he said, hugging the dog's neck. Claire pulled him close, her arm around them both. "Love you too, kiddo." As dusk fell, the Haven hummed with life behind them. A legacy of loyalty and love, built from a storm and carried through a dog's unwavering heart.